The courage to live as myself. What does it mean to live a life that is truly my own? And what does it mean to live a life that belongs to someone else? Life is always unfolding. Can I prepare for what lies ahead, change as I go, and still keep becoming? Can I define what it means to live as myself, and in doing so, shape not only my future, but even the meaning of my past? Somehow I become an adult. Somehow I ended up here. But where do this word somehow actually lead me? The moment I define myself, do I risk becoming trapped by that very definitions? Is looking back at the life I had built so that I can live according to what has already been made really the whole of the questions? The courage to live as myself. Perhaps it is called courage precisely because it is not easy. Courage is such a weighty act word to place before living as myself. But what really is the courage to live as myself? There was a time when I looked back over the road I had traveled and tried to understand how it had all come together. I gathered the scattered pieces of my past and gave them a definitions. But the definition began to hold me in place. It even reached into the future and bounced the time that had not yet come. And somehow I had bounced myself to the idea that present exists only to keep me walking along that same path. A person who translates the individual story of the life into form, trying to translate them. I hope you can recognize the traces of my struggle, my adapted to living the ending as open as possible, while using a little as possible to define it. The truth is, translating its individual story of life is difficult enough. And there is no name for this kind of the work. To call myself someone who translates them into some kind of the form is almost impossibility abstract. It is distinct longing, a hope, and perhaps also a sense of the responsibility. But when I look back at the life I had lived, I can see that there was the direction. My body seems to move towards naturally, almost instinctively. Look back, I see how naturally I found my way toward those who are alone, keeping them company, sharing a quiet moment, offering a smile. When I look back at who I am, I can vaguely see the traces of the tendency to help others look for their own light and help them find it. I believe I was placed here for this. And the more I look back, the more clearly I can see the traces of how God had been leading me towards it. And I look at the things I like, I realizing how simple they are and how few they really are. I love stories, but I think I want to use those words to somehow give shape to the individual story of the life. Maybe it wasn't about defining who I am. Maybe it was about looking back and finally noticing how He had leading me all along. The courage to live as myself. Maybe it is not courage to define myself, but the courage to not define myself completely. To honor where I've been without letting it decide who will be. To trust the road behind me without needing to know what lies ahead. To discover in the year I thought I was shaping myself, the one who was shaping me. I am still becoming, so I want to leave some room for the person I have not yet become. To leave the story open, and even today, to leave behind the traces of my struggle, to keep it as open as possible.